mazlum haklarının umudu olan Türkiye Cumhurbaşkanı Sayın Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'ın kürsü teşriflerini arz ederim. Buyurun Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı.
Buyurun. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
In the name of Allah, the most compassionate and the merciful, valuable speakers of the Parliament, distinguished Secretary General, brothers and sisters, I greet you all with the most heartfelt sentiments, love and affection. On the margin of 16th of Conference of Organization of Islamic Cooperation Parliamentary Union opening session, I'm very pleased to host you all in our country, Istanbul, which is the city of culture and civilization and beauties. Welcome to our beautiful city. As you know, this great city, which was mentioned in the beautiful words of our Prophet, that it will be conquered one day, from this beautiful city I would like to extend my greetings to all my brothers and sisters all around the world. May this conference be auspicious for our countries and for the whole Islamic world. The main theme of this year's conference is sharing conscience and Islam, Palestine, immigration and Afghanistan, and I do believe that it was very meaningful to define the main theme of this year's conference as such. On behalf of myself, my nation and my country, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude and appreciation to everyone who would contribute to this year's conference. Dear brothers and sisters, as the Muslims, we see that this life is an exam for all of us. As it is dictated in Quran, the Creator, our God, said that we will test you by reducing from goods and animals, and good news be upon those who show patience. So, as the Muslims, we have observed that we had to fight with such a great pandemic, which cost the lives of more than 5 million people. During this struggle, unfortunately, we have lost many of our loved ones and beloved ones, and also our MPs, and we have lost many of our citizens, our brothers and sisters. The members of the Parliament being in the first place who served under the roof of our National Assembly, I would like to pray for God to rest their souls of all the citizens who lost their lives, and I wish speedy recovery to the ones who are sick, and I also would like to extend my condolences to our brothers and sisters and their beloved ones who lost their lives due to the pandemic, and I pray for God to heal us from this pandemic. During the pandemic, we have opted for an approach which finds its epicenter and basis on the humanitarian values. From the first day on, we have underlined the importance of solidarity and cooperation in every international platform that we are party to. And of course, this call hasn't stayed only on the level of discourse, but via extending our humanitarian aids to different countries, we have put our words into action. The ones who are making use of every opportunity to teach about democracy and justice and humanity to the whole world, they have kept their ears closed, and we showed great sensitivity for sharing our resources with the brotherly countries who are in need. And we have dispatched aid to 162 countries and 12 international institutions. And we have extended the support of providing vaccines to more than 11 countries. And our national vaccine, Turcovac, has been initiated to be produced, and we have closely been following all the developments unfolding regarding to the production of the local vaccine, and hopefully it will be ready soon. Dear brothers and sisters, Al-Quds is said that if you cannot go there and pray for God, at least send the oil which will enlighten the oil lamps, as it is stated. Al-Quds is the reason why the Organization of Islamic Cooperation was founded. It is one of the founding stones. The cause of Al-Quds is not only the cause of a couple of brave Muslims in Jerusalem, in Quds. It is the common cause of every Muslims. Defending Al-Quds is defending humanity, and defending Al-Quds is standing by justice, law, and embracing civilization. And raison d'etre of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is the cause of Al-Quds, and it is in the priority items of our agenda. In Al-Quds and in the Western Bank, unfortunately, the unlawful practices are increasing day by day. Our Palestinian brothers and sisters are executed mercilessly on the streets. The innocent Palestinian kids are treated as terrorists, and unfortunately, we have seen that the sacred places in Al-Quds are being harassed. And unfortunately, this merciless blockade is going on in Palestine. All those policies who are trying to strangulate the Palestine so that they will give up from their causes, thanks to God, couldn't reach to its ambitions and targets, thanks to our brave Muslims. And all those policies are not accepted by any Israelis other than a couple of radicals. And those policies didn't yield any good result. Unfortunately, due to those policies, the approaches of establishing peace in the region didn't come to fruition. And on the contrary, the policies of anti-Semitism rise. Insisting on apartheid and violence policies will not do any good to anyone. The price of the genocide imposed on the Jewish people in the Second World War cannot be paid to the Muslims, to the Palestinians. But once again, I would like to reiterate that we are not discriminating among any sort of pains and sorrows. The views of Muhammed Durrah, who was martyred on the back of his father, gave us great sorrow, but at the same time the story of Anne Frank gave us the same level of pain. Marginalizing people just because of the fact that they share a different religion cannot be accepted. It doesn't matter where the oppression comes from. We should stand against it, and we should hold the hands of the oppressed. This is the prerequisite of our understanding of our faith, and it is a requirement of being a human. Blood, 3 drops. We don't want to see them in Palestine, in Al-Quds. 500 years ago, as we have opened our doors to the Sephardic Jews, escaping from Spain, our biggest aim is to establish stability and peace in Palestine. And as we have always articulated, we want an independent and sovereign Palestine with the territorial integrity with the 1967 borders. As a result, the status of East Jerusalem and Masjid al-Aqsa, our sensitivities regarding to those regions are ongoing. Between 2016 and 2019, we have held the term presidency of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and two extraordinary summits regarding to Palestine has been convened in Turkey. Thanks to those meetings, we have mobilized our organization and the other international institutions. In the upcoming term, our common steps to be taken by us will definitely shape the climate of peace. As the member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, we should act in unison, and we should prevent us from taking any sort of steps which will weaken our cause of Palestine. And we should make sure that the cause of Palestine should be brought to international agenda at the level it deserves. On the other hand, we really expect that the conflict among the Palestinians should come to an end, because it will be highly crucial and important that our endeavors will yield the result that we are desiring for. Unfortunately, those conflicts among our Palestinians are only making their enemies happy. So what we want from our Palestinian brothers and sisters is to strengthen their unity and their solidarity, thereby giving this process this support. Dear brothers and sisters, it is our common goal to provide stability and peace to Afghanistan as well. Overlooking to the humanitarian crisis taking place in Afghanistan is not a luxury that we can have, especially during the winter challenging times. Continuation of the humanitarian aid dispatched to Afghanistan is highly crucial. We have historical relations with our Afghan brothers and sisters, and as a result, we are doing our best with all of our power to extend this humanitarian aid to our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. And of course, there are certain issues which we find problematic in terms of inclusiveness and comprehensiveness. And as a result, our ideas and our critics are being conveyed to its addressees via our institutions. We don't want Afghanistan turning back to chaos and conflict, and in order to prevent it, we are showing any sort of endeavor that we can. Whatever we do, together with Afghanistan, we are trying to establish the peace, stability, and welfare in the region. And I also would like to make a call to Islamic world to be in more active solidarity in that regard. The dispatch of the humanitarian aid being in the first place. As you know, this crisis in Afghanistan triggers the migration crisis. Right now, we approximately host 5 million migrants, 3.6 million of which comes from Syria. And Turkey cannot shoulder any more burden in terms of the migration crisis. In the case of migration and refugees, unfortunately, this burden is being shouldered by countries like us, like Turkey, who are neighbors to the region of crisis, rather than the countries who are speaking with a louder voice. According to the UN figures, the advanced countries have 2.7 refugees per 1,000 people. On the other hand, this figure is 5.8 for the mid-income countries. The least developed countries host 1/3 of every refugees in the world. The Syrian crisis once again showed us this exclusionary and discriminatory and non-humanitarian approach of the Western countries towards the refugees. It is a crisis that we should take our lessons from. This Syrian crisis, which has passed already 10 years, unfortunately led the Western countries to play the three monkeys. In the tragedies of Aylan, baby Aylan, unfortunately the Western countries even didn't budge an inch and take any action. And they didn't take any humanitarian step in the face of a Syrian crisis. And in the disguise of fighting against Daesh, they didn't hesitate from supporting the terrorist organizations like PKK and YPG. And unfortunately, the aid that they have promised towards Turkey hasn't been fulfilled. 12 million people were forced to leave their homes in Syria, and 1.2 million people have lost their lives. And of course, the hypocrisy of the Western world played an important part in that figures, not only the terrorist organizations. Unfortunately, the universal human rights haven't been deemed fit for the people of Syria during the Syrian crisis. And the United Nations unfortunately didn't fulfill its responsibilities and created a huge disappointment. Unfortunately, the price of the failure of the international organizations were paid by our innocent Syrian brothers and sisters. Dear brothers and sisters, as the Muslims, we are not only fighting against the coronavirus and the economic crisis, but at the same time, we are struggling with the Islamophobia. The Muslim women being in the first place, all of the Muslims all around the world are the victims of the discrimination and discriminatory policies. Many of the Western countries who try to present themselves as the advocates of democracy unfortunately opt for hate speeches, which takes the politics in those countries captive. In the streets, in the markets, in the schools, there are many of our Muslims and brothers and sisters who are subject to racist attacks, and we hear about those news. The European politicians, rather than fighting against those poisonous policies, pour oil to the fire, thereby aggravating the situation even further. Europe, where 35 million Muslims from different ethnicities live right now, are turning into a mass camp of concentration camps, so we can never allow it. So we should take much determined and ambitious steps in our fight against Islamophobia and xenophobia. And not only the Muslims, but also the Jewish people who have been subject to this xenophobia, and the Christian people who see this issue from the perspective of humanity should side with us. We might have differences of opinions, but at the end of the day, if our fight is for the protection of humanity, then I do believe we all need sincerity. With your endeavors, with your efforts, I'm certain that the future of our Ummah will be much more prosperous and much more brighter. May God help us all. With those thoughts in my mind as I conclude my remarks, I once again would like to extend our joy of hosting you in our great city of Istanbul, and may the consultations that you will hold on the margin of this conference be auspicious to all Islamic world. Thank you very much, and stay healthy and safe. I entrust you all to God.
Hitapları dolayısıyla teşekkür ediyor ve bir müddet daha yerlerini muhafaza etmelerini istirham ediyoruz. Şimdi aile fotoğrafı için Sayın Meclis Başkanları ve Başkan Yardımcılarını sahneye davet ediyorum. I would only like to invite Speaker of Parliament and Vice President on the stage for family photo.